Welcome to our extended conversation about the horrific loss of 11-year-old Audrii Cunningham. In this segment, we welcome Griselda Castillo of Grizzy's Hood News back to the podcast to talk about her extensive reporting of the missing child case and a discussion of her time spent with Audrii's family. For those of you who have not listened to Grizzy's episode with us previously, we encourage you to go back and listen to episode 76 to hear more about Grizzy's incredible approach to reporting. For now, let's jump into our discussion with Grizzy about Audrii Cunningham. This is The Balanced Voice.
So it's made national news, and it should, the horrific murder of Audrii Cunningham, 11 years old. And Grizzy, you have been at the forefront covering this case.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was something that went about. We received a flyer request from a family that was in search of Audrii Cunningham. And when I saw her face and her little gorgeous little aura, I'm like, this isn't right. Something, it just yelled at me like, we need to hurry up. And so that night, the search began. It was very late by the time I got the flyer, but we posted. And the following morning, I canceled a lot of things. And I'm like, I'm on my way, because if we don't put a lot of light to this, time is of the essence. As you guys know, when a child goes missing, there's not much time. But it's even worse when there's suspicious circumstances around her disappearance. Somebody living on the house, giving a ride. Child doesn't make it to the bus, doesn't ever get off the bus, never even goes to school. What happened? So it started with that, and just to see the community come together, searching for this little girl, and not finding her as each day progressed. So heartbreaking to even wrap it up for the day. Like, how do you leave? Like, I have a lot of trauma right now. I think a lot of stories we cover do affect me in some kind of way, but I'm able to process and keep moving. But this story, I think, along with you guys and everyone else, the public, it's a story that does not leave you. Mm-hmm. You could be doing something random, like putting clothes in the dryer, and you'll think of her, and it is so shocking, so scary. And it's like that kind of story that we need to use to warn parents, be careful who you bring around your children.
Mm. This was on the first day, Chris. This was the first day that she was missing, that you got out there?
No, I got out within 16 hours, because I found out late at night already, and I was already kind of tired because, you guys know, sometimes I don't sleep well, and keeping up with Hood News. And so I'm like, no, I need to rest. I need to get myself right, because if I go crash somewhere, I'm not going to be good. So as soon as morning, I was out there in the morning, and I got to see for myself the marina area, it's off of I forgot the name of the street, but there's a Browder's Marina, and that's where they had staged and placed a command post. So all these different agencies were involved. We had the Polk County, San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office. We had their PDs out there. Then we had Harris County Sheriff's Office assisting, HPD, FBI, all these organizations, all these agencies out there. And when you see those videos, that it was time is of the essence. And you're fearing the worst, but you're really hoping that she's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Maybe a miracle, something. And it was so terrifying as each day passed. Okay, where's Audrii?
So what's interesting to me is how fast this happened, because, usually when a child goes missing, it takes a while for law enforcement or the community to get together. But this happened really fast. So do you think in the very beginning they already knew something nefarious? That was close around? They had enough information, because you said they were by the water. They set a poster on the water. Did they already know that's where she was going to?
I don't know.
But didn't Don McDougal kind of lead them there?
Yeah, I do know. There were sightings of him by Saturday morning, I believe. That's when we caught wind that there had been a sighting of him in shackles, pointing under a bridge towards the direction of the water. So she went missing Thursday, was reported missing 5:30 p.m. around the 5 o'clock hour. And then search began Friday. More people were involved. Saturday, we enter EcuSearch into the arena. So we knew, okay, Tim Miller's going to do an excellent job. They're experienced. They're going to have a lot of people on board searching land, air, water, whatever. And so, by Saturday, we knew like, hey, they had this man out there. There were sightings. People were driving by seeing this. And so we had our first press conference about it. So it just like, it was so scary. Like, I can't even describe the feelings. And as each day wrapped up, Sunday was the worst one because the water wasn't even helpful. Like, the situations, the water current was so fast. And I'm like, wow, like they're having to end the search, because the conditions weren't that great. It was very windy. Mm-hmm. Just nothing was working to their advantage.
Setting the stage, this little 11-year-old girl was escorted to school by Don McDougal, 42-year-old friend of the father who lived on the property with a lengthy criminal history, including child enticement, which is something he pleaded down to. She never made it to school. There's a question of whether or not the school ever alerted the family that she wasn't there. So the search began well after she was hurt.
It was dark when I started getting pictures of the searchers, like checking the woods, the boats, in the water in the lake. It was already very dark. Right, I think they stopped searching around 3 or 4, and that's when they had volunteers first, and then EcuSearch, came in because they responded right away to help. So it was just very very good to see that the community was involved, but also like very, very scary.
So Thursday morning is when she was supposed to get on the bus. That's when he escorted her. Thursday afternoon, she didn't get off, so they knew. Friday is when you started seeing everybody mobilize, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why you're saying time was of the essence.
Yes.
Because within that short period of time, and then people started seeing pictures of him pointing to potential areas where she could be.
By the Trinity
he had already
River.
done something that
fast.
Ma'am. Yeah.
You've been covering these cases for, cases in general for a long time, Grizzy. Where does this sit with you?
It's oh my gosh, I'm going to cry, you guys, but it's the first time that a child goes missing and they don't come back home. And it's the first time that we share a story from beginning to sad ending, like we sometimes share a flyer and then we find out some bad news or something like that. It's the first time that we're actually a part of watching, like bringing the viewers at home, people that can't go out there. It's the first time that the urgency is like caught on video. Like we share very sad stories all the time, but this is one where we were able to get out there right away and just start helping, because Livingston is relative. They don't have anything like Hood News out there. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that also helped draw more attention. Like, hey, there is a little girl missing out here. We need everybody to be searching and looking for her.
Yeah.
And so we were able to help with getting the word out. Hey, have you seen this suburban out there? Take a look. They're looking for it. They need footage. I had people reach out to me like, hey, we provided footage. This is just encourage others to do the same. Go back and check your cameras. Did anybody see this man? And there were sightings of him, and there were videos sent in. Thank goodness for social media, because that played a big role. People at home helping.
I think there is a difference. I don't know if you remember. There have been a couple of times where I've sent you flyers, and maybe you posted it or you had already posted, and you were like, Jen, I've already posted that one. But you're right. Those kids came home.
Yeah.
And this is the first,
so different.
And probably one of the first times that we got to see very close hour-to-hour footage of how these cases play out, which is what you don't get with the traditional news media, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was able to bring that to the table, and especially for people in Livingston, because it took media a little while to get out there. Like, I didn't see them till probably Saturday. The whole day Friday passed, and maybe they might have started showing up at night after people wrapped up, but we were there from the beginning. Like, even the night she went missing, we were able to get her flyer out. Then came the Amber Alert, So yeah, it's just really, really sad and scary. Those are the words I keep using: scary, scary, scary. I mean, terrifying. A mother's nightmare.
We talked about this, Grizzy. I don't know if you want to talk about it more, but I think we've got to look at why did he have access to Audrii? why did Don McDougal have such unfettered access to Audrii? And did the community fail her? In the community, whenever you have a situation of a child that is abducted or exploited or murdered, yes, the community failed the child 100%. But in this case, there's so many touch points. And 17 years ago, he was indicted on attempted indecency with a child. He was able to plead down to child enticement, which means he does not have to register as a sex offender. Where Andy Kahn, our director of victim services, is already working on changing that law.
Yeah.
But then
the parents may not have even known that.
But I don't know. Like, you're right. But there's a part of me that's like, he had been arrested. I think there were 12 charges against him.
Right, then Grizzy, we talk about second chance, right?
100%. But you don't know what
you
give your child access.
Well,
and I don't want to blame.
But
I ask the question.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be allowed into a vigil, and I got to meet grandmother, and she told me, I'll just sum it up this way. You know, I'm a person that received second chances. You guys know I have a criminal past, and I've been able to do good and show good and give back to the community that I once hurt. And this grandmother, this family, allowed this man to stay in a camper or something, RV, outside their home, because he was looking for a second chance. But what they did not prepare for was that this was a wolf in sheep's clothing. This was a manipulator, someone who gained their trust. I mean, he'd been living there for about a year. So I don't know what happened in that year's time. Was he showing to be productive? I don't know. But this man gained their trust, unfortunately, and he had access to her, you know, like giving her rides to school to the bus stop in the morning. That's a nightmare. I don't even know what I know they're hurt. They are, if they could have avoided, if they would have known, this would have never happened.
As you sit and watch these things unfold, how do you feel about like the system? Like, does it give you, are you proud? You know, you watch the community come together, the police show up, all the techniques and technology. At one point, they were able to stop the flow of the river, calm the waters down. So that's when her body appeared. I mean, there's so
I'm very thankful for law enforcement for that. I'm very thankful.
What did they do? They stopped?
They slowed down the flow of the water so the water would recede, and that's where her body appeared. I mean, there's so many tools that law enforcement use that we don't know about.
Exactly. I got to see that. I got to see, I did see the once they stopped the dam, I did notice that it receded significantly. I'm like, wow. I even showed people while I was out there after they shut it down, after she was found, after the crime tape was taken away and they were done investigating. I showed the video, like, hey, this is what in the live feed. I'm showing them the water, how calm it was. And then I placed it side by side with my other phone, showing them how fast the current was that Saturday, that Sunday, and that Monday. Because, I mean, they didn't find her till Wednesday, I believe it was. Yeah, so, or Tuesday, when would they find it? I don't remember.
I think Wednesday. Friday.
So it just goes to show. Now, what I want to know is about this aggravated assault. Why was he not in jail for that? That's where I feel.
We talked about this.
If we're gonna point a lot of fingers, I want to know why this man was not in jail, because that could have saved her as well.
Or able to plead down on an offense against a child, another child.
That case, we've spoken to victims of his who have been sexually assaulted or potentially assaulted. We've spoken to victims of his.
Multiple victims of his.
There are family members that have reached out to me. There's a young lady that she's been courageous enough to make videos telling her experience, and she was failed, and she lives with the survivor's guilt now. There's a dad out there that says, my daughter's soul, like she's just even more broken, more dead on the inside, because this man was allowed to do it again and again, and ultimately
because enough wasn't done to put him behind bars permanently. Yes, and now they're having survivors.
Yes, that and I thought that any offense towards a child in a sexual manner would automatically make someone a registered sex offender. Enticing of a child,
you can plead down to it.
You can plead down to it, and you don't have to register. Nobody has to know.
Yeah.
What a sweet deal for a predator. Yeah. That's a sweet deal, if you ask me, for a predator.
This almost this war on children. I mean, they can't, it's just too much. It's too much. It's too much.
It's coming everywhere.
The Galleria of the sexual assault of these toddler boys videotaped because there's an appetite for that garbage online. There's the killing of this girl. We don't know if she was sexually assaulted before. We don't know if she was sexually assaulted over the year that Dawn McDougal had. We know nothing, and we don't claim to know anything. And the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office is working on that.
Yes.
But Grizzy, we want to thank you for bringing the news to us in real time, unbiased, unfettered, unfiltered. It's just allowing people to see what's going on, and then also see the good work of law enforcement in the community.
Yes.
We're so thankful to you.
Thank
You're
you.
an angel kind of walking around, popping up and shedding light on everything.
This is definitely a story that I'm going to go get help for mental, like,
You need trauma therapy.
Yeah, trauma therapy. I've been able to keep it together for a lot of stories. Not this one, because this is very, we were more hands-on with this, and we got to see the grief and the pain, not just of the loss of this child, but something was lost for the community as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Follow Grizzy on Grizzy Hood News. Just the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love y'all too.
Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for tuning in to today's Balanced Conversation. You can find real solutions and tangible resources in our show notes at thebalancedvoicepodcast.com. To join the conversation, follow us on Instagram at The Balanced Voice Podcast and on Twitter at @BalancedVoice_. Stay up to date on Runya's work by following her at The Runya Report, and we can't wait to see you next week for another Balanced Conversation.